Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Yeah, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat with me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman and Aren Deu. Now, apologies for not going live again tonight. Who would have thought in 2020, in the middle of the Black Country, we can't get internet. But here we are, sweating our bollocks off to come and have a natter to everyone who's listening. How is everyone?
Hot.
Isn't it funny? Typical English. We moan when it's cold, we moan when it's wet. Now we're all sweating our bollocks off and we're moaning again. But I think like the great thing about when you're on holiday, it's hot. You've got a swimming pool, you've got aircon. But our houses are designed to keep the heat in, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, because that's why we've got central heating and... But bloody hell, I'll tell you something, it's at night, it kills you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But at least when you're on holiday, you've got no responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right now, you still got to go to work, you still got to do all the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. With all that PPE on as well, it just doesn't help. Having the mask on and breathing it back kind of on your own face just makes it worse.
Well, up here, like, because people haven't got to wear masks, but I'm choosing to. And the heat, as you say, bounces off your mask into your face, and you become very conscious about how bad your breath smells and stuff like that.
That might just be a you
Yeah.
I think that is Kev. We'll see you brush our teeth.
I went to Merrill on Sunday. It was ever so weird being up there. Like, everyone had got masks on and everywhere you had to hand sanitize. And it amazed me how many bloody shops are closed in Merrill. Have you been up there?
Yeah.
No, I ain't been up.
It was like 50% of the shops, literally 50% were closed. So I think it's not going to be long now until we've lost Merrill. And they're figuring in our lifetime, they'd have built it, got rid of all the steelworks, and then got rid of it again. What would I do with it? I mean, there'll be a lot of bloody houses, but
Yeah.
where would those jobs go?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So, and people say, like, well, he'll take money back to Brawley Hill and Dudley, the neighbourhoods where he took it away. But I can't see the money going back to the shops, personally.
Not with the internet.
Not with the internet. Well, which we can't get up here, so...
It could just be us up there then.
Yeah, me buying CDs and...
Yeah.
Tell you what, we could turn it into a new office.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, you won't get the internet there either.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because I'm so aware of everyone going away this week, because everyone should be going on their holidays, but I personally don't feel comfortable to go abroad at the moment, and I know you've just gone to your caravan, but like going away to even like a hotel and thinking, well, who's been breathing on this pillow a few hours before me? They changed the pillowcases, but you know, and I'm thinking, I've never felt like that. I've stayed in hostels, I've stayed in rough, but at the moment, I personally don't want to risk it.
Even in our caravan, we've avoided beaches. You know, we've avoided anywhere that's going to get crowded. Basically, we just avoided it because it just ain't worth it, is it? Look, I'm not scared. It doesn't really worry me, but I'm not going to go out my way to be around crowds either.
Yeah.
Well, me and Kate went out for a meal on Saturday. It was great, but then we went to a restaurant by us, and we were booked in 2:45. And normally I go, come on, let's go to the boozer, and I just didn't fancy it. Like with the Weatherspoons being in Kings Winford, and you know, having to queue to get into a pub for 30-40 minutes. I never used to do that when I used to go night clubbing. So to go into a pub, if I saw a queue that big, I'd go, sorry, I'm going to the Leopard or the Market Hall. Or...
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it all, lads?
It's too hot to think about. Just give me 5 minutes. But I literally just saw on the way here, I think I was just saying to you, like 40 people queuing outside. I was just thinking, that pint can't be worth that much.
No.
To be spending 40 minutes in the sun.
Not when you can just you can get off the internet now. Like, just have a drink at home.
Exactly.
If you go into a pub and you think, I'll go to the Weatherspoons because it's that bit cheaper, it ain't that much cheaper, is it?
No.
It's not like 2 for 1. You know, if you're paying, I don't know, £3.50, you might be getting it for like £2.70. I don't know.
I don't know. They brought out that deal now, haven't they, where it's 50%.
Yeah, Monday to
discount
Friday.
Monday to Friday.
But
so
that's not on booze, that's on food, isn't it?
Yeah, but they might be going there for food and booze at the same time. I don't know whether it crosses over, to be honest. I haven't been in the pub to See.
But that does tickle me. Boris Johnson, God bless him, saying we want to combat obesity, so all these foods are half price, but we might be closing gyms down at the end of the month to get kids back into school. And I thought, well, why aren't you saying, all right, Dennis, you're overweight, so you can join the Lions or Fitness First, and we will subsidise your membership to get you fit. That makes too much sense.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, or personal trainers, 50% off personal training, and then subsidise that. But there's loads of ways you can do it. But ultimately, I don't think they're interested in doing that.
No.
It's it all contradicts itself, doesn't it?
He's after votes as well. I think there's probably more people
You want to get
who want
pissed.
the pubs-
and get it,
who want the
yeah.
pubs open, especially after lockdown, rather than those of us who want to go to the gym.
And I think like keep restaurants open, because I say I went to a restaurant the other day with Kate, and we were sat at our table, and we were the Dillon family, and sound like the Adams family then, didn't we? It's like it's been a crack in. But like we went there, and I felt it was nice. We sat together, but I think when you go to the boozer and meet someone who's been very aware, and I haven't like shook my own brother's hand or given my mum a kiss for all this. And then you're in the pub, you've had 6 pints, and next thing you know, oh, come here, Aren, give us a kiss, I ain't seen you. Because as sensible as we might be after a beer, I know for myself, I'm definitely not sensible.
No, it's right. It's right. It is. Again, it contradicts itself, doesn't it? How, you know, in a gym, it's quite easy to social distance. It's quite easy to clean the equipment after you've been on it. You know, you make a point of doing that. In a pub, you've leant on the bar.
Yeah.
They don't wipe it down straight away before the next person leans on it. Same with tables. You know, you got to be really on top of it.
Yeah.
To stop drunk people leaning up a wall and.
Or even you go outside and have you got a lighter? Yeah, cheers. And that's something that's bouncing around, and you know, like I say up here, you walk in with temperature, we get the temperature going, your hand sanitizer, you have to stand your own square wherever you go, you have to take your bags, every punch bag you go onto, we have to wipe it down, you leave, and it's all done by the book. But imagine doing that with people when you're drunk. And you can't keep your eyes on everyone, because there's the overcautious, there's the sensible, and then there's the people who just don't give a kipper's dick, who are just doing what they want and sod everyone. And I think the problem is at the moment, because we've all felt so restricted and everything, now people are just rebelling, or I don't know, throwing cautious to the wind.
Well, I think it's actually. I don't think that's changed throughout. You just had the two sides of it, haven't you? The people who are just ignore the rules basically, and the people who follow them, and that's the same. The only difference is now they've got more. There's more places to break those rules. You've got more options to do it. When the pubs and the shops were closed, you couldn't get to them.
You might go around someone's garden or meet up in the park or something, but now, as you said, so
But then you're restricting it to one family potentially, whereas a pub, you could be in a room full of people, a load of people you don't know.
weird hot times, eh?
Hot. That's the most important word today.
But I know it's like, as I say, I love the summer, but you know, it's like when you're up somewhere like this, but it's the bloody night times when it kills me. And we were laughing, weren't we? We're all married, and you love your partner, and you're in bed, and you're going, "You stay over there, for God's sake, don't breathe on me, don't." And it's amazing how much water. I mean, I always sleep next to a big thing of water every night, but I'm guzzling it every night. And Kate shouts at me because I'm waking up because I have to keep getting up for a week because I'm not, you know, I'm dehydrated from 15 gallons.
See divorce on the cards.
I'll give her enough reasons to get divorced, so I don't think it's a bit of one. But have your kids been with the heat? How's Callie been with the heat?
She struggled today. She's really struggled today. She had quite a few severe seizures, but we keep it as cool as we can. We've got aircon and fans going, and the electric bill through the roof. But you know, ultimately, there's not a lot we can do. She'll have days like this. But it's kind of we were away down our caravan. It was a lot cooler down there. Still warm but cooler. And the problem is she's going from that temperature and being used to that to then coming back here and it being sweltering hot. Whereas tomorrow, if it carries on this temperature, hopefully she's got used to it a bit better. But yeah, it is what it is. There's not a lot you can do.
Because that's when you found out, wasn't it? When she was younger and you'd gone on holiday.
No, we found out before she went on. Well, she had seizures before we went on holiday, but we didn't know what it was linked to at the time. And we went on holiday, and luckily luckily for the first time probably ever in Forteventura, it was cooler than it normal was, and we even saw rain, which I hadn't seen in 5 years. So we basically landed lucky with that holiday. It was still warm, but it was cooler than usual. So yeah, we landed lucky there.
It's very like me and you were having a moan about being up, but then that's what popped into my head about little Cal.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes like this that we forget about people, like even like with asthma and stuff like that. You know, when it sugars go in your breath. Like, and sometimes like when the hay fever's been bad, I convince myself that I'm having a panic attack. 'Cause it's that exact same feeling when my chest gets heavy, and I think I'm gonna faint, and then I talk myself into having a panic attack. But you know, it's with the other things like having seizures, you don't talk yourself into them, do you? That's just
No, it's not voluntary, unfortunately. There's no way. And so we just have to keep her as cool as we can and keep our fingers crossed that she has a good day. But that's it.
I think that's all we, you know, as parents, is just hope and do our best, isn't it? How are your two younger siblings now, Aaron?
They're fine. Seen them today. Obviously, we went for a carvery. His mum's birthday.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Joe.
Thank you. I think she'll appreciate that. But yeah, they're fine in terms of like health and stuff. Social skills and stuff have obviously improved. But I think there's always going to be that struggle because you started too late in life. And now I think they've got a hit of hormones and adolescence kicking in, and being unable to kind of comprehend and understand that is difficult because I don't think their IQ is and their emotional intelligence is high enough to understand what their bodies are going through and their moods and stuff. So I think we're getting a bit of that bad side as well.
How old are they?
Now you're asking, I'm going to get for this.
Kev likes to drop you in it, doesn't he?
Yeah, 15 Josh is, and I think Carl's 14 now.
See, they're at that cusp of being a young adult, aren't they? But
Yeah.
maybe not understanding. I remember being 15, I didn't understand what was going on with my body, you know, but when you've got an underlying problem with it. And I was talking to a lady the other day, and her son had severe autism, and he was effing and jeffing, but he wasn't a naughty child, he was severely autistic. And she was saying to my mum, saying like, thing is with a physical disability, you can spot it and you go like, oh, mind the step, but when it's you've got this little boy who has got no physical attributes to it, and she said every time they go to shopping, they're kicked out of Asda because it's telling someone to F off or couldn't someone F in C, and it's such a shame because they could sort your child out. You go, it's not that easy. There's not an off switch.
Yeah.
And I think with your two lads, because I haven't seen them in years and years and years, it's not that physical thing, and I think sometimes it must be so hard for them to explain.
Of course.
What is happening to them. It's so difficult for you to explain.
Yeah.
You're coming to that age where you're going to start being sexually attracted to people, and that's not a wrong thing, but you can't go over and grope someone.
Yeah.
And it must be very challenging.
Yeah, I think they're struggling. I think Kelsey's been the most fortunate in that respect because obviously when she came, she was 6 months, and she was getting. We were obviously for all three of them, we were pushing for the most support in terms of they need to be fast tracked into better schools to support them. I mean, new Carl was autistic as well, and I think with Kelsey, because she was younger and she had that little bit more time of us pushing, she got seen quite early, so she went through like psychotherapy and stuff, and that really helped her with her emotions and stuff. So now, I mean, some of the words that she says and does is incredible. So it's my uncle's. We're doing the Ashes on Sunday, and my mum's birthday today. And bearing in mind she's a lot younger than Josh and Kyle, and she wrote a birthday card to my mum, but she put a photo that she printed off of my uncle who had just passed away, my mum's brother, and says, I miss him every single day, but I know today you'll miss him the most. And I'm like, that level of awareness for a child like that, like even me as a grown man, I didn't even think that didn't even come through my head. So she's very in touch emotionally, and I think the boys are the same in terms of they have the same heart, the same compassion towards people. They're very, very loving kids, but they can't articulate it. And sometimes you see that frustration, especially Carl, because he gets frustrated and he flaps a lot when his emotions are heightened, and he struggles, whereas Josh kind of just cries.
I think that's very much a Matt thing as well, though, isn't it? Not being able to articulate how you're feeling and how to, you know. And no doubt it's been slightly different recently with you, with what you've gone through, and you're able to now do that better than you were before.
I agree.
But I think that's very much a man thing that you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put that in a card, would you?
No,
Or you
of
wouldn't
course,
think
of
of putting
course.
that in a card, even though you might be feeling that. You wouldn't think of doing it, and it's probably even more heightened with added autism.
Yeah.
Is it
On top of
autism?
So Carl's autistic. Josh has been diagnosed with ADHD, learning difficulties, and that's it really at the minute. Yeah.
But that's a minefield in itself, isn't it?
There's the spectrum's huge. Even autism, like there's so many different types of it. It's, I don't know. It's too much to learn. In terms of knowing all of it, we just need to know enough to keep Kyle safe, and that's all we can do. But we know that once he turns 18, he'll never be able to be independent by himself, because he's a vulnerable. He'll become a vulnerable adult, not just to himself in terms of somebody being able to take advantage of him, but also I don't think he'd know boundaries as well, if that makes sense. You know, you're talking about if they go to a club or a pub or something, he may do something inappropriate, so you almost want to protect him from that as well. Even though he might not have that intent, he just wouldn't understand that there's certain levels of boundary.
And again, like Kev was saying before, if it's a physical disability, or like my daughter, she has autism, but you also know there's something else going on.
Yeah.
So she gets excused for her behaviour. Not behaviour, it's hard to explain.
Yes,
but she will scream and shout in happiness, whereas we wouldn't do it in the middle of a restaurant.
Right.
She would, but people look and go, they can
Wheelchair.
understand it.
Okay.
Yeah, they can see and
Right,
go,
'cause
actually,
from physical aspect.
yeah, from
Right.
physical aspect, you can tell that she has issues. Whereas with that, if you'd not seen that, and he was screaming and shouting, I'm not saying he would, but
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
was screaming and shouting
Well, he has.
or did something
He's
inappropriate,
paid out a lot,
Yeah.
and I think you just assume, like Kev said earlier, naughty child, sort your
yeah.
child out.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Interesting.
more on the spectrum, like some. I have to choose my words carefully. I know what I mean. Some kids have got these problems, and they have been spoiled, and they haven't been corrected because they haven't known. Like with some kids, when some kids, it is so severe, it is impossible to discipline them because they don't understand the discipline. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think at that point it comes down to more of a reasoning than discipline,
Yeah.
and even then it probably won't work,
Yeah.
or might not work. You know, it's more of a, you know, there's no point going, well, you go and sit in that room on your own and you know, that kind of
Yeah.
discipline or smacking or anything like that, because, but you may be able to reason your way around it. I think you was explaining to me about that mum at the time when you came here and there's boxing, and we said the same then, that you've got it's a totally different teaching to where if you were teaching Jasmine or I was teaching Lily or Af, it's a totally different way of going about life, because the understanding isn't there.
And it's normally if you can get one thing in common, do you like boxing, do you like trains? Normally what I've done, I'd have got my gloves tucked up and he could have beat me up for a bit. But because of these people can't do pads and can't do this, it's so extremely difficult. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? But like, on about the physical and the emotional, but that also brings us back to the mental health. Because if you've got someone who's got them demons in his head, and you can't see it, well, Kev's happy, or Kev looks really down, or Kev's very manic, or Kev, why on earth he keep turning that bloody light switch on and off? Because you don't know it, or the schizophrenia of he believes that there's something there. And it's so difficult, because you say people can understand me not having good eyes, or someone can understand if you've had your legs taken off in combat, or you've had a bad motorbike accident. You can see it, so you can identify. But I think when it's living in your own head, that's when it's so difficult. But that's why I think we have to be so understanding. But hopefully, by the grace of God, it is being brought more into the public eye, and people are starting to be a bit more caring and understanding of it. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think we just need more compassion and try and put ourselves in a place of not really judging people and just seeing them and trying to understand why has that person reacted that particular way. You can always do that, obviously. For example, if you're completely different tomorrow than you normally are, I can pick that up. But I mean, for strangers, it's really important that we just don't judge a book by its cover, because we see all the cliche quotes and stuff, but you genuinely have no idea what somebody's going through. You have no idea if that person, because sometimes when I experienced loss a few weeks ago, and I was just driving around and nipped to the shop or something, I was probably the most miserable person in the world. And I'm not normally like that. I'm quite like shy and I don't really make much eye contact and stuff. But I didn't want to know. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I'd see the neighbours and I'd just walk straight off. And that wasn't me being rude or anything. That was just me dealing with what I was dealing with. And I think only when you go through a process like that, or you can see it firsthand, then you're a bit more aware. So now when I see somebody who may be like that or displaying those kind of emotions, I'm always a bit empathetic towards it and thinking maybe they're just having a bad day or maybe they've had some bad news and stuff. And then I think the best thing we can do then is just show kindness and not judge them really. Easier said than done, because it's one of those things. How many times have you heard somebody pass away and you've said sorry, but then only until you've lost someone you really feel that pain and you're like, shit. Like today I had some other bad news that my friend lost his father-in-law, and just as I've had a recent loss myself, it broke me again, because them whole feelings come back again. I was able to resonate a lot more with it. So I'm not saying we all need to go through adversity, but sometimes even just having that broader spectrum of let's just be kind to each other. We're all facing our own battles every single day, and we want people to be kind to us. So let's just try and reciprocate that, I suppose.
And I think like something you on then about when we judge people in the supermarket, or sometimes you'll see in this blistering hot weather when I'm sweating my bollocks off, and you'll see someone there with his hoodie on. We don't know if he's got a form of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going through or she's going through at that time.
Yeah.
And that could be like a girl who's wearing a short skirt in the height of winter, or a lad who's wearing a muscle vest. They might have that might be their way of dealing with the
They
situation.
may just feel good in that.
Yeah.
I was just laughing then, sorry, when you said the hoodie, because today I didn't realise the weather, and when I went to go for a meal, I had a sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
But my excuse for not having a sweatshirt, because my dad had the same on, was we had no t-shirts that were ironed, so I just put on a sweatshirt, and I must have looked like
That's not
mate,
ironing.
I was sweating buckets, and the worst is obviously as I left, I had that exact same thought. People must be looking at me like, is this guy crazy in like a sweater? But it was a bit of laziness, and obviously I just wasn't aware. But
But it's so easy to judge that person, isn't it?
of course,
You look at them and go, what? But you know that old saying, "Thou shalt not judge." But who here hasn't judged? You know, I mean, it's the natural thing we do. He looks shady.
but we know we can change as
Yeah.
well. You know, we demonstrate that on this podcast through growth and learning and being open to other ideas and opinions. You know, we've had difference of opinions, and I think that's what we should try and encourage at least. Is we haven't always been like that and we've judged and stuff, but let's just try and even minimise it, even just judge 50% less, and I think the world would just be a better place.
Just keep observing and think, what can I learn about this situation tomorrow? Because the day that I learn everything, it's the day that I'm going to die. You know, because I want to be having my points proven wrong, and I want to be there going, well, I think this. You go, well, actually, Kev, and I go, bloody hell, I never realised that. And that's what I love about life. Every day, finding going, well, this is what I think, and go, well, actually, go, no, yeah, I'm not wrong, but I was maybe misinformed, or maybe I only had part of the story. And stop going on everyone else's gospel. Pick it apart yourself and have your own opinions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're exactly right, aren't you? I mean, that's interesting what you say. I've never thought about people walking around in hoodies and why they've done it. I mean, I've just gone, fucking hell, but what you're doing, you know what I mean? That's it. And it's interesting to hear that. I've never even thought of it that way. So yeah, it's right. I will do from now on now.
That's it.
Yeah.
So when you see me in a hoodie,
Oh, well, no, you just annoying. You ain't
That's
getting
true.
away with that.
Yeah.
this man and I am friends.
I haven't got mental health problems. I'm just very, very lazy. I'm lazy and vain.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, it's
Because,
interesting though.
yeah, well, I think today, because we're not going live and everything, unless either of you want to say anything. Is there anything you want to bring up?
It's hot.
It's hot. Has anyone got any sayings?
Don't put me on the spot again. I'll leave it to you, mate. I know your head's full of quotes.
Well, how about that good old famous saying, don't judge a book by its cover,
Love it.
or he without sin cast the first stone. Either. Well, gang, as I say, we're not going live today, as you can gather, because we're not live. But we will go live as soon as we can.
That's a great observation.
So just stick with us. So take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.